Welcome back to the Becoming Her podcast. You guys, we are back with another really great conversation. And I feel like last podcast, I was so freaking fired up because we just dove into so many things that, I mean, not
Oh
that
yeah.
we don't always talk about things I'm passionate about, right? But I was just like, okay, I have a lot. I always have a lot to say, but I really have a lot to say about these things. And this is going to be another one of those topics just because you guys hear me speak to, I titled this first and foremost titled this, You're Not Broken, You're Under Muscled, and the skinny fat problem nobody is really talking about.
Mm,
We're going to dive into just how ungodly important muscle is, and not just for, you hear me say often, that toned banging body that you feel damn good and naked. Yes, muscle is the key to that, absolutely, hands down, no questions asked. But I feel like that gets overpowered for the bazillion other benefits that adding muscle to your frame has, right? Because everybody chases the look, but we don't necessarily dive into what else is going on when we add muscle to our frame and what it does for us, not just again from the physical aspect, but internally feeling good, being able to sustain and maintain our weight, helping them work through insulin resistance and all of those things. And I would love for you to kick us off because this has been a journey for you specifically. How long have you been working with us now? 2 years?
3 years. Yeah.
That's crazy. Time flies when you're having fun.
Long time.
Yeah. And this is something that we've put a lot of emphasis on and was not nearly I wouldn't say wasn't as important to you, but there wasn't as much of an emphasis with strength training before working with us. Would that be fair to say?
I wouldn't go to the gym and lift. So yes, that is fair to say.
That is absolutely fair to say. So walk us through the difference. I mean, just in 2 years. Yes, I mean, you guys know Anne's a babe. She's a legit babe. She looks phenomenal. And if I look half as good as Anne in my 50s, I'm just going to be like bowing and singing praises here. But walk us through the difference with how you feel, how you perform, just all of the things.
Yes. Well, and I do want to say I've always had a gym membership, at least for the longest time. And for the longest time, my gym membership has been for spin, and I even got so passionate about it that I got certified in spin because I wanted to teach
Oh,
classes. And what was really hard for me initially was that shift into strength training because I have been a cardio junkie my entire life, from the age of 7 all the way through school, 5 days a week, if not six, doing something that was cardio related. So when I first went to the gym and started doing strength training, I remember telling my coach at the time, okay, that's fine. I'll do this, but it's not going to get in the way of my cycling or my spin classes. I want to make sure. And she worked with me. I mean, that's the good part, right? And the entire time I was really miserable. I really didn't enjoy it, but I thought, you
that's
know
how honest
what?
you are.
I buy into the concept that we need it in middle age, that I'm going to have to change something, because at the point at which I was cycling, I was road biking like 100 miles a week and nothing was changing. I was still heavier midsection, still feeling really tired and sluggish. I still love cycling, but I wasn't getting the results that I really wanted. And I was really getting frustrated with it because all I heard was eat less. And I was eating pretty less for the amount of miles that I was putting on my bike.
Mhm.
And so as I started to do it, and I would say like the first 6 months, I didn't notice anything really phenomenal in terms of like visual appearance and what I was going for, but I did feel stronger, and I did start to learn how to move my body in the gym, and that in and of itself was really intimidating. I remember the very first time that I was given anything with a barbell, I was like, I don't think that I'm ever going to use those. Thank you so much. And I would
I'll
I would
pass.
sit
Think
in the
so.
gym and I would watch people. I would watch people. I wasn't checking out anybody. I was watching people to see what their form was like. And it was so hard for me. It was very, very humbling. And I would even say to this day, after 2 years of strength training, now 4 days a week, 3 to 4 days a week, and I go in and it's about 45 minutes to an hour each time, that I still lift small weights. Not They're not as small as what they were, but it isn't what I thought I was going to be doing. And I understand why now I do that. And I understand why that's important, and why it all, like, it's not a big deal. We have to go in and lift 10-pound weights. Like, lift your stinking 10-pound weights. It's okay. Do it. Um, but I will say that what happened, and I think it was around, I would say, the year mark, maybe slightly before that, people would start coming up to me and saying, "What are you doing?" And it's like, you don't see it because you're kind of living through it yourself. And I was kind of taken aback by that because I was like, what do you mean? Like, I've always worked out. I've always been in shape. Like, I've always done this stuff. And I remember just recently, I was even out with my mother at an apple orchard, and this woman randomly came up to me and she goes, "Oh my goodness, I would love to know what you do because you look so disciplined. You
Mm.
were so fit and so disciplined." And she was talking about like my back and my arms and how, and I hear this now often. And so like my goal was to get stronger and to look more fit. And um I didn't really care about the size of clothing that I was in, but ironically, the size of my clothing size dropped by two
Mm-hmm.
sizes,
Mm-hmm.
even though my weight didn't do a ton.
Yep.
And it's like, had somebody said to me, because in my head, what I thought was, I want to be this weight. I've been this one weight before. That's where I feel really good. And I know that my body works really, really great in the zone. I want to shoot for this weight. And I had a lot of fighting from my coach about the number,
Yep.
right? Because I was like, but the number, and they're like, eat more. And I'm like, I'm good with that. But the number.
Can
And
we
they're
go
like,
back to
yeah,
this
just give
number
it some
thing?
time. Yes. And now I'm around that number. I'm slightly, I maintain above it most of the time, but my size has changed. And also my strength has changed and my confidence has changed. And my confidence hasn't changed because people are coming up to me. I mean, that does help, but my confidence has changed because I know that I'm strong. I understand what I'm doing. And I feel good in my body.
Mm-hmm.
So when I would cycle 40 miles in a morning, I would come back and I would feel really good because I had this great endorphin rush, but I wouldn't see anything different on my body. And now I go to the gym for 45 minutes and I come back and I'm like, I know that even though I may not see a dramatic change in a week or even a month with doing this new program, whatever it is, whatever new thing that you're building up and doing different things that to get to the bigger movements that we want to do. I know that in doing this, I will get the end result that I want, which I will look more toned and I will feel better in my body.
Mm.
And I will say one of the hardest shifts for me to make was from that cardio to strength training, but now even doing single sided stuff and getting balance in my body, I can feel it when I'm walking.
Oh, yeah.
So I used to move my hips in a certain way, and now that I'm doing everything one-sided to bring balance to my muscles on both sides of my body, it's dramatically improved my balance. It's improved my coordination. It has not improved my ability to speak successfully. That is still on the table. That's a menopause thing I lost. But it has really changed a lot about how I view what it is that we need in middle age.
I love, there's so many things that you just said that this could be like 14 different podcasts on so many things that you just said, honestly, because I can just ramble and ramble. But I want to dive into, because you said something real, you said a couple things that were really powerful. You said, I didn't really notice a difference for the first 6+ months. And
Mm-hmm.
then you had said, I went to the gym and I started lifting baby weights, and that's okay. And those baby weights got heavier as I progressed. So that's what I want to dive into. I'm going to dive into that piece, and then we're going to dive into the gazillion different added benefits of adding muscle to your frame and what's happening as we go through menopause, just so listeners can really have an understanding of what they need to do to combat menopause, like combat muscle loss and all of those things. But I would be willing to bet the first 6 months for you, with this being such a new thing, were a bit of a learning curve for you. So we, as you went into the gym, really trying to focus on form. And just like you said, I was so intimidated. It was like, I really didn't understand, like, a barbell. I'm not using one of those things.
Uh-huh.
That looks like a foreign object.
Uh-huh.
Right. And so what we tend to do is, it takes us a minute. And this is where I see women give up before they give themselves a chance to succeed. And so this is why I want to dive into this piece,
Mm.
because what you said is so powerful. It's like, well, I didn't really notice changes in the first little bit, but you kept going at it. And that's the power of coaching and really guiding, and somebody in the corner saying, like, the bigger picture of this.
Yep.
But what happens is women, as we're trying to figure this out, we're not lifting at the real intensity that we need to lift in the very beginning, because we just don't know what that is, right? Like, we don't understand what true failure is until you start lifting for a period of time and you start to understand what does failure look like for you, and what it looks like to really truly train to failure, opposed to weights just being quote unquote intimidating. And like you said, smaller weights, we all start somewhere, right? Like we're all going to start with those
Mhm.
smaller weights. But you said something powerful. You're like, because they're slightly less small now, meaning you're lifting heavier now than you were when you started. And women get, I feel like first they truly underestimate how strong that they are. We really truly do. And it's just an intimidation factor, right? Like the gym, when you step into the gym, can be overwhelming as a female who's never really strength trained before. And this
Mhm.
is where the power of having a structured plan comes into play. I mean, that really, like, exactly, you walk into the gym, you know what you're doing, instead of like, well, that machine kind of looks like I could guess and get it right, possibly, opposed to, you know what I mean? Like guessing your way. Having a structured plan is going to be crucial. So anybody listening to this right now and you want to get into strength training, please find some sort of structured plan that gives you
Yes.
an idea of walking in and this is what you're doing for the day. But understanding that the change that you're seeking is going to come with getting your body to, or getting yourself to, a place where you feel comfortable of knowing how to lift the weights properly with the right form to be able to see the changes that you're looking to see. And it was a powerful thing, because I was like, she just nailed it. This is something that a lot of women, they're like, well, I've been in the gym for 2 or 3 months, I didn't see any results, and they tend to just kind of give up and throw their hands
Yes.
in the air because they're like, it's not working, kind of concept.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and I would say one of my biggest aha moments, I think I've spoken about this before, but I love speaking about it, was push-ups. I have a torn rotator cuff, and I used to swim butterfly, so my shoulders have always been really strong. And I had this torn rotator cuff that I went to PT for and worked on it and got better, but it still wasn't good. And so my coach at the time would keep giving me push-ups, and I would try them and fail and say I can't do them, it hurts too much. And okay, and then it kept coming back on my training, and I would try it and fail, and I'd say, okay, I still can't do this. And then the last time push-ups arrived on my training schedule, I was like, fine, you know what, I'm just going to try them again. I keep saying the same thing, I just can't do push-ups. And I went down, I dropped, and I did 20 easily.
Girl.
And it has to do with the chain of muscles, like
Mhm.
strengthening up those interior muscles. And so my coach had tricked me into doing push-ups. Like I just
They're kind of
and
sneaky that way.
and to my own credit, I did keep trying. I did keep doing what the coach was doing. But I really felt like that was completely out of bounds for me, that I was just never going to be able to do push-ups again. And I had kind of settled it in my head and thought, that's okay. I, tore my rotator cuff. I don't want surgery. I don't want to do anything else with this. I'm okay with never having to do a push up again. And it was just unbelievable to drop and do 20. And then I did 20 more. And then I did 20 more. And I was like, holy cow. And I had been in physical therapy for that rotator cuff and had gotten what I thought I needed to out of it, and thought, well, okay, it doesn't hurt anymore. It's not waking me up in the middle of the night. So, like, yay, it's good.
Yeah.
Right. And understanding, though, that chain, and understanding why it is that we can't do certain movements. And also, I think another thing that I've learned, even from being a very baby personal trainer myself, is that when you do movements that your body isn't ready for, that you like, we don't have those the core muscles developed, or we don't have the gluteus
Even the
medius.
mind muscle
Yes,
connection too, as
yes,
well, right? The cognitive piece of it. So,
yes. Even not understanding some of those things, we can wind up actually injuring ourselves or overemphasizing certain body parts because we're overutilizing things to make up for deficits that we have elsewhere in the body. And not knowing that, and having someone that can walk you through it enough so at least you get some basic knowledge, is make or break. And even what happens to us emotionally and mentally at the gym,
mhm.
having faith in someone else who at least can say, hey, I can get you there. And oftentimes they wouldn't tell me that they were trying to get me there. They would just be like, okay, well, we're going to strengthen these parts of the muscles because those parts are weak. And I
Yep.
was like, all right, that's fine.
Yep, 100%. And you said something powerful there. It's just your body, or so your mind is so much more powerful, or your body's so much more powerful than your mind ever is, right? Your mind's going to tell you, I can't, or that's too heavy, or that looks too big, or that is too intimidating, before, you know what I mean? Your mind's going to be the one that gives out before your body ever does. And it's just one of those things that it's a mental mind F is what it is. And I fall victim to that as well, right? If I'm going to hit PRs, I will purposely just add weight before like and not try to do the math, because if I know what that number is, I start to psych myself out. So what I'll do is I'll just go in and I'll add smaller numbers like plates, and then I won't do the
Mhm.
math in my head, because if I know exactly, I'm like, there's just no possible way. And then once, if I'm able to execute it and I'm able to hit it with correct form, then I'll go in and add up the math. And I was like, oh shit. Like, and I get really excited, right? Just because it's just something where your mind can play tricks on you. But this is where having a properly built strength training program focused on progressive overload. And like you said, I strengthened my muscles around my rotator cuff. I never thought that
Mhm.
this was possible, but I strengthened, and that's what we came in and we did. And now look at you, like you said, I dropped down, give me 20. I feel like you need to like just drop down and give us 20 and show us what you can do, because that is very, very impressive just to be able to knock 20 push-ups out. But that, I mean, that's extremely impressive. So being able to, really get out of your comfort zone is something that I know a lot of women struggle with. And the gym can be an intimidating environment. And so this
Yes.
is where, we work with a lot of women who will train from home in the very beginning. And I always say, because people ask me all the time, it's like, well, can I see results training from home? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. You can see results training from home. No question. I
Mhm.
would say, if I had to guess, 75, maybe 80% of the women we work with start out working out from home. But there's a
Oh, wow.
caveat to that is that as you get stronger, and you will, right? Like when there's intentionality behind your training, your nutrition's in alignment with that. You are truly following a properly built strength training program, and you're focusing on progressive overload. As you get stronger, you will need access to heavier weight for you to continue to see
Mhm.
the results that you want to see, right? Like we have to be able to continue to take muscle to failure. So just understand that at some point, like Ann said, starting out with the little baby weights, the 5 pounds, the 10 pounds, at some points, those weights will, I don't want to say no longer serve you, but for you to continue to break through the plateaus and see, continue to get bigger muscle and add muscle to your frame, you're going to have to lift heavier weight. And that's just the reality of what it is. And so either A, we need to have, you need to commit to adding weight to your home gym or whatever that, or transitioning into full gym programming. But really, truly just making sure that you're following a structured program is going to be the biggest piece of advice I can see. And, really making sure that it's, my favorite word is intentional, because nothing fires me up more. It's like I walk into traditional gyms still to this day, and you have trainers that have these women doing, and just like the mentality, it's, we're doing a lunge to a curl. And I'm like, it's so ineffective. Like if you're going to train, make it effective. It's like, why are you lunging the same weight that you can curl? Because you can lunge a lot heavier weight than you can curl. And so really just making sure that, when you are following some sort of it, and I get that you're just listening with a trainer. I guess just doing, shoot me a message. If you're listening to this podcast and you're like, what am I doing? Am I doing this correctly? Please get into my DMs and let me support you in some way. Just because there is just a lot of really just BS advice out there still on a lot of things. And if you're going to put the intentionality and the effort into it, you want to see the results. Like that's why you're in the gym, and training effectively is going to be the way to execute the time frame of which you see those results. So you're not somebody who's sitting in there for 2, 3, 4 months and no changes are being made. And that's when you get frustrated and you end up just kind of, well, I knew this wasn't going to work kind of thing. And you give up before you give yourself a chance to succeed. So that is hands down, I mean, the reason most people start strength training is to see the muscle to their frame and to get stronger, right? And we understand the benefits of getting stronger. But let's talk about the benefits that happen just internally and what's going on with your
Mhm.
body when you add muscle. Because I always say there's probably not one thing, if you're struggling with something when it comes to your health and fitness, there is not one thing that you can throw at me where I can honestly tell you, me saying add muscle to your frame would not help in some way, support that. Meaning something like you're struggling with, whether it be, weight gain, fatigue, just anything internally that's going on that you may be trying to work through, adding muscle to your frame is going to support that in some way. That I can promise you. And
Mhm.
so I always say muscle is the key to longevity. It's the key to health. It's the anti-aging key. It's the key to that toned, banging body. You feel damn good and naked. It's the key to combating falls, breaks, tears, osteoporosis.
Yes.
And it's the key to, the metabolism that's on fire so you can sustain and maintain. But what I want to speak to is specifically because women going, if you're female and you're listening to this, chances are you're perimenopause leading into, if not, you've already hit menopause into postmenopause. And
Yep.
what happens as estrogen declines, right? And this is something that a lot of people don't understand, that estrogen is, it plays a massive role in maintaining muscle mass by regulating protein muscle synthesis and reducing inflammation. So when estrogen starts to decline, we struggle with, this is where, it becomes harder and harder to add muscle to our frame because our body's just not responding to it the same way when we had this, higher amounts of estrogen in our 20s and in our 30s. And so I would say if you are not actively trying to sustain and maintain your muscle mass as you age, you are actively losing it. Like, and so there has to
Absolutely.
be mindful effort. There just does. There needs to be mindful effort, not just with your training, but with your nutrition. And so, as estrogen levels drop, it shifts your body towards breaking down more muscle than it builds. And so, what can you do on your end? You can, obviously, we talk about the nutrition piece of this. Eating enough protein is crucial, hands down. And if you're not consuming enough protein, you're really, really going to struggle. And our body, like as we age, it almost becomes resistant to that, anabolic resistant. So we actually don't, we need more protein per serving, or we just need more protein in general to get the same benefits than we did in our 20s and 30s. And so really making sure that you're at that higher end of the amounts. I usually say 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. The leaner you are, the closer to the full gram you need to be. And what do I mean by that is when you give yourself a range, that 0.7 to 1 gram, when I say the leaner you are, we're looking to feed muscle. So if you are leaner, chances are you're going to carry a bit more muscle than if you have 50 pounds to lose, right? And so we're
Mhm.
looking to feed muscle. And so that's where those ranges come into play. And so just know that, because I have women all the time that come to me, and the biggest thing when somebody's already relatively lean is it becomes, like Anne said, less about watching the scale go down. She was so hyper fixated on, but that number, I want to be that number. And it becomes less about that number and more about what your body looks like, right? Like the composition and the shape of your body. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Anne, you're heavier now, but you look better.
Well,
That'd be a fair statement.
I'm slightly lighter.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I'm slightly lighter, but I'm actually, and even my own parents commented on this not just too recently, where they said, "Well, you keep losing weight," and I I said, "Actually, no, the scale has stayed the same. I'm not," and they're like, "No, you're losing weight," and I said, "Yeah, no, I know for a fact I'm not. I'm not worried about my weight, but what we look like shifts dynamically
Mm,
because even though muscle and fat do indeed weigh the same, muscle is much more condensed than fat.
mhm. Takes up less space.
So fat, a pound of fat's going to be this big, a pound of muscle might be this big, and
Yep.
I'd rather have the muscle because all the protective things. But another piece for me is that I wanted to be the mom and the grandmother that continued to do things with their kids well into. I mean, I've got 15-year-old twins still at home
Hmm.
and 28-year-old adult children. I want to be able to go and do with my kids and my grandkids and live my life without having to worry about whether or not I can make the end of the hike, whether or not I can worry about doing some jump off of some, thing that we're doing that's fun. I
Hmm.
want to be the person and the parent who can come alongside my kids the entire time. And maybe I'm not going to be as fast as I used to be or as resilient, but I want to be impressive, at least for me. I want to
Yep.
be able to go out and go, I feel really good about myself.
Yep, 100%, 100%. And so so you are slightly less, but granted, we've obviously changed body composition. Muscle mass has gone up, body fat has gone down. And so now the amount of protein, again, we're looking to feed more that muscle mass because muscle is anabolic. It actually creates, like, you need calories to sustain and
Yep.
maintain muscle, right? Like that's the difference between muscle and fat.
Yep.
And so with that being said, just making sure that you're consuming enough protein. And as we age and anabolic resistance, our body just doesn't, like, muscle protein synthesis. I cannot say that word, synthesis.
Synthesis. Yes.
I tell you, I'm trying saying that 5 times fast. I should edit that out, but I'm not going to because we don't edit this podcast. So you guys can just listen to me and my little list that I got going on. But with that being said, you really do need to make sure that you're at that higher end of the range. Because what I see happen is I have a lot of women who come to me who are relatively lean, right? Like when you look at the
Mhm.
scale, they're in the, 130, 140, 150, and they want to try and eat at the lower end of that, and they're not seeing the results that they want to see. And it's like, you're already relatively lean. We need to eat for the muscle that you have. And it's just because protein for a lot of women is hard, right? It feels overwhelming, it feels daunting, and that's a whole different podcast, because eating enough protein is not hard when you start to prioritize it, that I promise you. But really, like, so if we said that 0.7 to 1 gram, and I usually use 150 pounds because I have that math memorized, but that's
Mhm.
105 grams. But chances are at 150 pounds, you're already relatively lean. And if you are, going through menopause and again, anabolic resistance, you're going to want to be closer to, you know, somebody's going to try and scoot away and get away with, 100 to 105 grams, you really truly should probably be closer to 140 to 150 grams of protein to reap the benefits of what you are trying to do when it comes to muscle protein synthesis. I'm just going to start calling that MPS, you guys. So if I say MPS, you know why. So I don't stumble, but to really reap the rewards of what a high protein diet does for us, specifically when it comes to, the muscle, sustaining and maintaining at bare minimum the muscle that you do have, if not trying to actively work towards adding more of it to your frame.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that was a big mental shift for me as well. So I was a big sugar junkie. I lived off of gummy bears and Swedish fish and all of the diet foods on the industry, like the thin wafer crisp with the strawberry filling and all that stuff. I love carbs. Um, and what was challenging for me was the meat, and was getting in the protein. I had to find ways of incorporating it so that it didn't feel like I was having a lot of meat all day long, because I'm not like that. And I would say that the piece that I really appreciate and enjoy is there's a lot of different natural products on the market that we can get in now, yogurts that have a ton of protein
Mhm.
in them. Uh, and as you learn how to eat differently, you actually change your taste buds. So we crave what we consume. I cannot oversell this. I hear so many people coming in and saying, but I don't like those foods, but I'm not going to eat like that, but I don't want to give those things up. That's okay. Let's just add in some extra stuff. Let's just add in foods, give it a try. If you don't like broccoli, we don't have to eat it. It's okay. You like, there are some things that you don't have to do, and we can actually cultivate that by just simply showing up with intention to do those things, to just trying something new, trying to add in little pieces here and there. And before you know it, it's effortless,
Mhm.
and you want it, and it tastes good, and you're thriving.
Yep. I love that you said that, because it's funny because, vacation, we look forward to them. And I'm a total foodie. So I plot out and I have a whole agenda of all the different restaurants and the bakeries and all the things that I want to try. But it never fails when I am I am so done with eating out and I'm so ready to get back home and just within like my normal foods that I typically eat that most would consider as boring, but I truly I love them. I love them. And I
Uh-huh.
eat the same foods relatively I rotate between the same 10 to 15 foods. And it's not because I have to, it's just because I honestly, like you said, our taste buds change and we crave the foods. And it's like when you prepare them and you season them well, they're freaking delicious. And so I love that you brought up that piece of it because it really is one of the things when you start to shift, I promise you, in the very beginning when you take on like Ann said with a different nutrition protocol and you might have to get creative of different ways to get protein intake in. It doesn't all have to come from meat by any means. I have a
Hmm.
yogurt bowl every night that you could easily pack in 50 grams of protein in a yogurt bowl if you wanted to,
Hmm.
between Greek yogurt and protein powder, and it's freaking delicious. Mix in some berries, throw in some granola, whatever you want, and like 50 grams of protein in a yogurt bowl. So when you start to prioritize the right types of foods, again, hitting that protein goal it becomes effortless at that point. But again, it's slight changes that can make a big difference there. But when it comes to, being able to add muscle to your frame, it's just a non-negotiable with consuming enough protein. You can be in the gym 6 days a week, 7 days a week, and you'll see some benefit from that. Don't get me wrong. It's not like you're going to see nothing, but if your nutrition isn't in check with your training, you're leaving so much on the table. So if you're going to do the thing, right? Like really
Yes.
combine both of them because it really is, it's the yin to the yang. But let's talk about the bones and the combating the falls, the breaks, the tears, osteoporosis, like all of those things as we age. Because I mean, obviously we don't think about it when we're younger age, but nobody wants to be the one in the nursing home that needs help getting off the toilet.
Yes.
Like, let's just go there. Let's talk about that. Nobody wants to be that person, but we don't think about that in our 40s, our 30s, our 40s, and probably 50s even, right? But, as we age, it starts to become more of a reality. If you're neglecting getting stronger, that is a possibility. That is a reality for you. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Anne.
One of the things that I have said recently is don't accept other people's limitations.
Hmm.
And I have seen this time and time again from motivational speakers. I have seen this from people that are fitness influencers, people that people that are in front of doctors that say, "Well, you're never going to walk again, or this is going to be happening, or you're probably never going to do this again." And the reason why I think it's so powerful for us to find our own limits and to not settle with what other people tell us is because that's what makes us unique human beings. And when it comes to what I hear, and I hear people all the time, and it breaks my heart. I hear women that come into my office that are in middle age and maybe they're perimenopause or menopause, and they're struggling with food, and they want to come to me, and they don't have full-fledged eating disorders. They're just, they have some disordered eating, maybe at most. Um, Sometimes at least it's simply that they're not mindfully eating and they're just kind of grazing the whole day and eating whatever they want to, and they say, I don't like how I look, but like my mom looks like this, my grandmother looks like this, her like great grandmother looked like this, everybody kind of looks this way, so like maybe this, like I just have to accept this. And I've had people walk out of my office saying, I just have to accept this because this is how everybody in my family looks. Guys, genetics do play a role in this, but our ability to show up with intention and not settle for I'm just going to be defined by my genetics is so crucial. And it doesn't mean that we're going to shift everything about our bodies and everything about our genes, but we can absolutely shift the way that those genes are expressed by how we show up and commit to
Mhm.
fitness. Right. So being strong, having muscle mass is never going to be a bad thing for you. Never. Right. So if you have family history of osteoporosis and you already have osteopenia, it is not going to be a bad thing for you to have muscle mass. It's going to be a
Yeah,
protective thing.
thing. Oh, 1000%.
And understanding that, and I hear so many people that, like, when I talk with them about, like, hey, listen, we can do something different, we can start working on this, on these things, they say, oh my, that's just too much work, I don't want to do that hard work, that just is like, and I have women in my office that will cry about that, and I'll say, I get it, it can be hard work, but the time is going to pass. The time is going to pass anyway, and it's going to be hard watching your body fall apart. It's going to be hard watching yourself not be able to do the things and show up at family reunions or family events saying, I can't go on that hike, I can't do that walk, I can't go XYZ. That will be hard. You know what will also be hard? Going to the gym.
Yeah.
You know what will also be hard? Going in and eating a little bit differently, changing up how we're pursuing life. And do you want to be at, in another year, in 5 years, do you want to say to yourself, man, I'm just where it is that everybody else in my family is gone? Or do you want to look back and go, you know what, I'm really proud, I showed up, I did some different things, I
It's
feel
hard.
stronger, I feel better.
It's hard now or it's hard later. I mean, it quite literally, I mean, you can choose the easy route now, but even choosing the easy route now, don't tell me it's not hard in different areas, right? Like not being able to fit into your clothes and uncomfortable around, other people, fear of judgment and social situations, not being able to take the hike, like you said, because you're not in shape enough to be able to do that. That's one of the biggest things that we hear is just, it's like, yes, Nicole, the body composition changes. I've lost some weight. Yes, that's amazing. But I wouldn't have been able, just like you said, I wouldn't have been able to do the hike that I took with my family this time last year.
Yes.
I wouldn't have been able to, fit into the roller coaster, like the bucket seats or whatever. I wouldn't have been able, like we've had, when things like that click and you're like, I wouldn't have been able to, this has been holding me back. Those things are freaking hard. And so, yeah, you might be taking the easy route of skipping the gym and not prioritizing your nutrition now, but that also comes with a lot of, challenges right now with those. So you can choose the hard that, and again, you can choose the easy, quote unquote, easy way out of skipping the gym, those things, but it will be harder 20, 30 years down the road. There is no question. But skipping the gym comes with those other challenges. So you can't tell me that you're necessarily taking the easy way out because it's not. It's not
Yep.
when you look at it that way.
And I will say that one of the interesting journeys, and again, because tore my rotator cuff running through an airport with luggage, because I was my flight got delayed, and so I was like trying to get a connecting flight. It was the last flight of the day, so I was running through the airport, tore my rotator cuff. And when I showed up to the doctor, he said, well, we can give you some anti-inflammatories, I'll send you for PT, but you may not be able to use your shoulder the way that you want to unless we do surgery or something more invasive. And I'm concerned then that when you do that, that's going to create a whole series of other problems. And I was like, no, I don't like that. Like, I don't agree. So I went to the personal trainer, like, we can absolutely get you to a different spot, but you may not be able to use that shoulder the same way. And then I'm working out and doing more with my trainer, and I absolutely can use my shoulder just fine now. Do I have to be wise about, and do I have to not run through airports with luggage? Yes. But and do I have to be really mindful about that shoulder, and I have to pay attention to the cues that it gives me when I'm at my limit. But that does not mean that we have to settle for what other people are telling us. We do not have to settle for what it is that other people, doctors, friends, parents,
Yep.
loved ones, just give up. Just like, is that going to be okay with you to say like, oh, I just gave up? Or are you willing to put in the effort and do something different and see what you can do?
Yep, I love that. And I love too that you brought this up in the very beginning of the podcast, because I feel like when women look at this, especially, if you're somebody who has, a bigger goal and you look at this, you're like, I have 30, 40, 50 plus pounds to lose. It doesn't have to be this all or nothing thing. Like Anne said, I started out strength training. I started out with smaller weights. I just showed up. And it doesn't, what I see women do is they're like, okay, I have this big goal, and they take these extreme approaches. And we're going slightly off topic now. And it's like, I cut everything I love out of life. I take calories down to a super low amount. I go to the gym. I'm not
Ugh,
working out at all. And then I try to work out 7 days a week, 6, 7 days a week kind of concept. And they take these super extreme approaches, and that lasts for the 2 months that you're motivated. And then lifes, and, all of the things that happen. And the thing that goes is the thing that's met with the most resistance. And of course, I don't want to be in the gym 7 days a week. And I love the gym. I love it. It's like my happy place. I love being down there. I say down there because it's in my basement, but I I love it. But there's nothing about me that wants to be in the gym 7 days a week. And this is coming from a gym junkie,
yeah,
so that it is really truly just looking at the approach that you take, but it doesn't have to suck your soul. It doesn't have to be this extreme, 2 hours a day, 6 days a week kind of thing. Like Anne says, I'm in the gym 45 to 60 minutes, 3 to 4 days a week. And you've seen amazing results from that. Fair to say?
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. And I would say, having someone who knows what they're doing and can lead you in the right direction, and also having the accountability. Again, I'm a
Mhm.
personal trainer. I will probably have a personal trainer the rest of my life, because there is someone else that's guiding me, that I will not pause long enough. And I know this about myself. This is just who I am. I will not pause long enough to do something for myself. I will always do for other people.
Mhm.
And so hiring a personal trainer for me is my ability to say, I've got to pause to do something for me. Because at a bare minimum, if I don't check in with her, she's like, hey, where are you? What's going on?
WTF. Not acceptable, Anne.
That's right. Well, tell me, hey, make sure that you're sending me these so I can check your form. Like, she'll stay on me. And I need that, because even though I intellectually have the ability to do this and I can kind of figure out things on my own for myself, I will not do that for myself. And I'm just acknowledging that that's where my limit is as a human being. And to be fair, we have lots of kids. I run a business. There are other things that I do. So it makes sense.
Yep.
But that is my investment in myself now. And that is an investment not just in myself, but now in my family, because my family reaps the benefits of that. Because now I'm showing up, the whole part of me energized, feeling proud of myself, feeling good about, like, I bought some new dresses, and I hated
Mhm.
dresses before. I just thought I had tree trunk legs, and wearing these dresses, and I'm feeling really good, and my husband's loving it, and he's enjoying the fact that I feel good. But then also I'm modeling this to my children and to my grandchildren.
Yeah. 100.
I'm not settling for just growing old. I think the phrase is growing old gracefully. I'm not fighting it. I'm working with it.
Yep. I love that. And I'm a coach. I understand this up, down, left, sideways. I don't need a coach for the information piece of it, but just for you said, it's the accountability piece for it. Same thing for me. It is so easy for me to get so caught up in work and all the things that I'm doing to easily, well, that can get pushed off to the side, but it is 100% accountability thing for me. And it's one of those, this journey means something to me, right? And so having somebody, you guys have heard me say this a bazillion times, but it's not just overwhelming this journey, it's emotional. And when it's your own journey, it is really hard sometimes to make the decisions that you need to make to move your needle forward, because those decisions feel uncomfortable and they're not necessarily what you want to do. Like if it were up to Anne before she joined Team Becoming Her, she would have stuck with her cycling because that's what she liked. And it's not that she can't cycle, she still cycles, she still
Yep.
incorporates it, she still loves it. But to reap the benefit, or to actually get where she wanted to go and to reap all of the benefits that she has now as she's aging, strength training was a non-negotiable. It needed to be implemented within her routine. And so, given Anne, if it was just up to her, she would have considered, or she would have continued to strength or to just bike, opposed to adding in that strength training element. So
And I see so many women that will do exactly that. They do what they did in their 20s and their 30s. What they do what they did when they, I mean, that's, I did cardio growing up. That's what I did when I was in school. Like that was absolutely part of my fundamental training. It's one of the reasons why exercise doesn't intimidate me. And I see so many women in that spot putting in amazing miles, doing wonderful things. Other women that are cyclists, that are runners, that are, doing all these wonderful things, but they're not getting the results that they
Mhm.
want. And I hear them say, this is just aging. And I'm like, but it's not.
Hot.
I get it. Yes, it's aging if you keep doing the same thing, but if it's not working for you, let's change it.
Yeah. It's that
Let's figure
definition of
something
an
out.
insanity, doing the same
Mhm.
thing over and over and over again, expecting a different outcome. And I think that this segues into the next piece that I really wanted to dive into here, because obviously our bread and butter is working with women going through menopause. And while, yes, looking good is a piece of this, right? But I feel like that overshadows feeling good. And when we talk
Mhm.
about menopause and we talk about the unwanted, symptoms that come with menopause, and we're talking the moodiness, the anxiousness, the irritability, not sleeping, hot flashes, just all of these symptoms that come with that and the decline of hormones. I am telling you right now, you guys, myself and my team have helped well over 1,000 women in the last 5 years. Adding muscle to your frame is one of the best things that you can do for pushing these effects, like the symptoms of menopause, back for years and years and years. And not only is that going to help to push back the effects of menopause and the symptoms, your body will respond better to HRT. Your body
Mhm.
will, like, and we talked about HRT and Anne's journey with HRT the last podcast episode. And like she said, you'll have to grip these out of my hands because I will never not take them. But I can
Yep.
promise you right now, Anne's HRT is more effective with how she trains and how she fuels her body now than it would have been with her approach, 2 years ago before joining the team. I can
Mhm.
promise you that. Have you noticed a difference? I'm curious, like, because I know you're on HRT before you joined the team. Have you noticed a difference with how your body responds to the HRT?
Oh, yes, yes. Matter of fact, yesterday I just went to go get some of my hormones and I had all the brain fog, couldn't make complete sentences. I'm still like, I'm still recovering from that. But they always ask me my symptoms that I'm like, yeah, I can't actually think through anything or form a complete sentence and make any sense. So please help me out here. I can't sleep well. I'm really tired all the time, all the things. And it does have to be an integral piece. And it's interesting, we do not question for us. I just like Western medicine and how it messes with our head. We do not question when we have to go to the doctor and be put on a new prescription for something that's going wrong in our life. And then when we show up at the pharmacy and we're like, oh, that's $100, that's $80, that's $150. We're like, damn, but okay, I'm going to spend it.
Yep.
We will do that when it comes to needs. We'll do that when it comes to illness or injury. But one of the things that's really alarming for me, and one of the ways that I really want to challenge listeners on this podcast to think a little bit differently, is that instead of being reactive to what your body's doing, be proactive to what your body's going to do. Instead of just simply showing up and taking a pill and hoping that cures all the aches and pains, show up instead and go, man, I see this happening, or I don't want this to happen. And I'm going to jump in front of that bus and get on top of this before I'm having to take insulin for diabetes. I mean, I was pre diabetic and I had a relatively clean ish diet. I still probably eat more carbs than I need to. This just is what it is. Um,
I don't want.
but but I could take medication. I could be on metformin. I could be on a number of different medications to address that, or I could show up at the stinking gym and I could eat differently,
Yep.
and I could spend more money on the food that I'm consuming to eat differently. And I can spend a little bit more money on the hormones to help balance this.
Mhm.
Or I could take a pill.
Yep.
And so I look at it, and in my mind, I'm looking at it as I'm going to spend the money on this eventually. Or I could spend the money on this now. I'd rather spend the money on this now and feel better about myself. And maybe this isn't going to happen.
And I love that you brought that up, because as estrogen drops, we become more insulin resistant.
Uh
And so if
huh.
you're going through menopause with very, like, you're approaching this phase of your journey and you have very little muscle to your frame to begin with, we naturally start to lose muscle mass. Estrogen starts to decline. You become more insulin resistant. If you are, still, if you're, struggling with, you know, additional body fat, you're going to be more insulin resistant as well. And so muscle is a key. Like, it is a sponge for insulin. Adding muscle to your frame is one of the key pieces of working through your insulin resistance. I mean, it will not happen. And if you are trying to lose body fat and you have insulin resistance, you understand how challenging it is. It does. It creates a lot more of it. Is it impossible? No, but it is much more challenging trying to reduce body fat with insulin resistance. And so adding muscle to your frame, the way that you train and the way that you fuel your body is going to be everything when it comes through working or when it comes to working through insulin resistance. And then obviously replacing of hormones as estrogen starts to decline can be very powerful as well to help just, you know, so many other things than just the insulin resistance. I mean, estrogen's a buffer for so many things for females, and we talked about that in our last podcast episode as well. But really, truly, you guys, if you are struggling with insulin resistance, adding muscle to your frame, it's just non-negotiable. It's non-negotiable. I don't even know if I'm trying to find a better word than that to be as impactful, and I've got nothing coming to the brain right now.
We're gonna do it, or we're gonna wind up actually treating it on the long end. And I'm one of those people that I've been told that I need metformin. I've been told that like I need birth control. I've been told that I need a whole bunch of things. And I said, you know what? And for me, because I have that gene mutation, I get all the side effects of all the medication. So it wasn't an option for me to get all the side effects because it makes me miserable. And so I said, I got to figure this out differently. And guys, this is an investment in ourselves. So we're going to have to either save money for that nursing home or we're going to put in the money now and hopefully get to a place that we don't need it. And this isn't knocking anybody that goes to nursing homes or might have family members in nursing homes. It doesn't mean that, you know, they're not beneficial for us or that it won't happen for some of us. But this investment is huge for us as human beings. The investment of time, the investment of money, but also the plan and the strategies to do something. And I hear so many women go and they'll take random supplements that some TikToker said, or somebody on social media gives you a workout and you go and you do it, but it's not really well fit for you. All of those are amazing efforts. Kudos to you for trying. And that's not a plan.
Yeah. I know I was scrolling my For You page the other day and I came across a TikTok live, and this chick had over 800, and I can't say women, but 800 people. And I'm assuming they're women, 800 people in her live, and 800, she was promoting and selling happy juice is what she called it. I don't even know. Like, I know the pink drinks and the cortisol balancing, but I'm assuming that's what it was. I wasn't on there long enough to do any research because I just get so ungodly angry. But she was claiming that this happy juice got rid of all of her menopause symptoms and helped her lose 30 pounds. And it's so unfortunate because this is the reason women are still frustrated and stuck, right? And if we have a mental health crisis and we have an obesity epidemic in the United States, and if it was as easy as drinking happy juice to cure all of this magically, do you think we would have, we'd be working through an obesity epidemic, or we'd be struggling with our mental health if it was as easy as drinking the happy juice, right? Like, and that's the part that kills me. And it's just, I get so angry because I'm like, I get that I get you're in business. I get you're trying to support yourself, but you are the reason women are stuck and miserable and frustrated. And women, I actually chat GPT this. I don't know. Did I tell you this, Anne? So I chat GPT, how much does the average person spend on dieting over the course of their lifetime?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I'm going to have you guess, because I mean, I do this for a living and I about shit my pants, but it broke it out for me in
thousands.
Well, yes, thousands for sure, but it broke it out to me in different categories. And so I'm like, okay, how much does the average person spend trying to lose weight over the course of their life?
Yes.
That's how I prompted it. And so it had different categories. And one category was supplements. How much do you think the average person spends on just supplements over the course of their lifetime?
I'm going to be bad at this. Maybe, I don't, but like maybe
this is
2000,
fun.
2000 maybe?
Oh, go higher.
5?
Higher.
Are you serious? 10?
Higher.
No.
Yeah, I know. I about shit.
15,000?
Higher.
What? 25,000.
40 to
no
$60,000 over the course of their lifetime.
Never gonna get
40 to $60,000.
No.
Just on supplements. That was just the supplement piece of it too. It broke it. I wish I need to go find this prompt because it saves your chat. So I'll send it to you because I about shit my pants. And then when you add in things like, obviously gym costs and trainers and people, they added in some people doing like surgeries of just like lipo and stuff like that. But the average person, depending on how far they take it, just spending, trying to lose weight and get to their dream. Cause I think I prompted it like trying to lose weight or achieve their dream body is how I prompted it. $100 to $200,000. For those on the higher end, obviously took routes of like surgery and stuff like that. They're
Okay, guys. So
expensive.
we're trying. Like, kudos to you. We're trying. But you mentioned this, and I just it lit a fire in me because I get really passionate about this. I was actually pre med when I was an undergrad to go into psychiatry. One of the reasons that I shifted into psychology was because of this very phenomenon. Psychiatry is amazing. It's wonderful. If you need psychiatric medications, please go get
Yes,
them.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. But one of the things that I see happen in Western culture in particular is that we get into this mentality that one pill will solve all of our problems
Mhm.
or that pills will solve our problems. Please don't settle for that. And I'm not saying that pills cannot be useful for us and medication is not useful. If you need something, there are random people that will go and get a diagnosis like bipolar and get put on meds, or have diabetes, get put on meds, and things randomly change for them and it's drastic. If that is you, that's wonderful. It is. If that is not you, if you've shown up and you've been given multiple pills and nothing is fixing what's aching inside of you and nothing's helping you manage your weight, that isn't a good program for you. Do not buy into the lie that a medication, one pill or 10 pills, can fix not having good practices for healthcare and for self-care.
Yep.
If you are not exercising, if you're not doing enough, if we're not building muscle, right? These are good strategies, and a pill is not going to get you there.
Mm-mm.
And I see people invest in machines and, like vibration plates, all of these things are good and wonderful, but machines to work their bodies out in tens units to get muscle, like muscle development, you will not get there by shocking your muscles. You aren't going to get there without the actual work. Let's stop trying to short circuit showing up differently.
Mm-hmm. And I say that when we spoke to this a little bit on the last podcast, talking about hormone replacement therapy and GLP-1s, right? Like GLP-1s have completely changed the game when it comes to fat loss, and they can be so ungodly powerful. You guys, if you follow me, you know how supportive I am of a GLP-1 in the right situation when it's dosed correctly and it comes with a plan, it comes with a strategy. But let's talk about the muscle piece of this, because what happens, because this is what this podcast is about, do you know how many women end up on my doorstep after utilizing a GLP-1? They
Oh,
lost 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds. I mean, substantial, like they dropped substantial weight. And then they end up in a worse position than when they started because there was no plan, there was no strategy. They took the GLP-1 and it quieted the food noise. They weren't hungry, but not eating is not a plan. It's not a strategy. And so what they wanted, and they flat out admitted to me, Nicole, I wasn't hungry. I could just eat the Twix. I still got my wine at night and I was dropping weight, right? And so, I lived off of my diet soda, my Twix bar all day. I unwind in the evenings with my bottle of wine and I was still dropping weight. I thought it was great until that weight loss came with their hair falling out in chunks. Their nails were brittle, no energy, couldn't sleep, massive brain fog, just all of the effects that come with utilizing a GLP-1 in a situation like that. Because it's not the GLP-1 that causes your hair to fall out. It's not the GLP-1 that causes your nails to be brittle, right? It's the strategy or the lack of a strategy with utilizing
poor
something
nutrition.
like that. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so
And
I
and
love
can
that.
I
Yeah,
can I
go
speak
ahead.
to this really
Yeah.
really quickly?
Hmm.
Because the thing that the body actually eats first when we go into a starvation mode is muscle mass. This is one of the reasons why anorexia is so damaging, is that it actually eats away the heart muscle. That's why people with anorexia die of cardiac events, because it's eaten away their muscle tissue in their heart. That's what the heart is. And so when we restrict calories, and then, like, all right, we're going to talk about ketosis for those of you that are keto lovers. I'm going to break some bones here on this one. The problem with it is that if your calories are too low, if we're not getting in enough energy or fuel, your body is going to turn first to those muscles, which actually drives up your resting metabolic rate. You are working against yourself. So taking a GLP-1 and not eating enough is actually eating away your muscle mass,
Hmm.
which means that when you get off of that GLP-1,
Oh,
you're not going to
comes
be able
back.
to eat enough. And in case you think that I'm just spouting rumors, go look up the longitudinal studies from the participants in the Biggest Loser show. It actually showed long term what the effects of trashing the resting metabolic rate by under eating and over exercising, what it did for them long term, and how it actually created incredible weight gain for them long term. The studies have been out there, they have been done. It does not work. Do not settle for that. It's super tempting. I get it. I have seen it happen repeatedly. Do not settle for this pill isn't making me hungry and therefore I'm not eating, because you will just gain that weight back and then you're going to have less muscle mass. So you're
Mm.
gaining back fat. You're not gaining back muscle, you're gaining back fat.
And that's why I say you end up in a worse position because you gain every single pound back plus some with less muscle. So that is downregulation of metabolic, hormonal, I mean, like Ann said, biofeedback markers, all of the things, and it just shoots you in the foot long term. And so again, I want to make it very clear. It's nothing against if you're utilizing a GLP-1. I think they're extremely powerful. We microdose them on our team in specific situations when it makes sense, and
Absolutely.
it really can be a very, like I said, a great addition. But that comes with a plan and a strategy in the right amounts. I can promise you, those that are losing excessive amounts of weight on GLP-1s aren't microdosing them. The devil's going to be in the dose when it comes to, because what happens is it's like any drug, you need to continue to take more to get the same, benefit from that drug. And so people take the GLP-1 because of the appetite suppressant. They want nothing to do with food. And if you don't want to eat, that's how you're losing the weight and as fast
Mhm.
as you are. And so you have to continue to take more of the GLP-1 as your body adapts to that dosage to continue to, see that same effect. And then what happens is you end up maxing out that dosage. You end up blowing your leptin receptors. And like Ann said, you have less muscle to your frame, the amount of muscle you lost, losing the weight as quickly as you can. And then when you come off of it, I have seen women, there is no amount of food that satiates you when you're leptin, like your leptin and your ghrelin is your hunger and your satiation hormone. And so your leptin is what tells your body it's full, right? Like it's like, okay, my body, like my belly's happy, it's satiated. And when you blow that receptor, there's no amount of food that you get to eat that satiates you. And so those pounds come back quicker than you lost it, to be honest with you, because you can't get full. You walk around all day rondibus wanting to gnaw your arm off. And so there has to be a plan and a strategy with them. And again, the benefits outside of just the appetite suppressant can be phenomenal when you're utilizing them correctly. But I'm glad that you brought that up because it is something that, I mean, GLP-1s have taken over America, right? Or just the world in general. They're everywhere. And yes, there is a lot of amazing benefits to them until you're one of those people, because you don't even need a prescription. There's no guidance for them anymore. You can get them online from like research
Yep.
pharmacies,
Yep.
and they're shipped directly to your door. And it's
And, and
just,
and as someone that specializes in eating disorders, I absolutely think that GLP-1s have a place in our well-being and managing weight. I think that we need to be really mindful and wise about the place that we put it
Mhm.
and the strategies around it. I think everything can, lots of, not everything, but lots of things can have a place in our life. Um, Never diets, guys. Sorry, I'm just gonna. I'm anti-diet. Please continue eating the food that you love. But I believe that with a good strategy in place, with someone that's willing to take it, and also I think for those people that have really been frustrated by their weight their entire life, or they've tried everything under the book, and then you get to GLP-1 and you're so relieved to finally not have an appetite. I completely understand why you are there and why you're using it in that
Mhm.
fashion. And please do not allow yourself to use it that way.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, it's just, have a strategy, have someone willing to hold you accountable on that. And I honestly do believe that when we've been struggling for so long and we get something and finally it gets easy for us, we do have to have accountability with that. We do have to have providers willing to say, are you eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner? What did breakfast, lunch, and dinner look like?
Yeah.
How are you getting in your protein? What does exercise look like? If you do not have a provider that's walking you through that when you were using GLP-1s, you do not have a provider who is looking after your best interest.
Oh, you don't. And then again, those that are just ordering them off of because they're cheaper, online off of these research peptide sites, and they're shipped directly to a door. And what happens is it goes, when dosages get that high, it goes from appetite suppressant and helping to quiet the food noise to just flat out you're revolted. Like
Yeah.
you don't want food. And again, this is just me hearing stories from those that we've worked with. It's like, Nicole, I couldn't even think about food without wanting to vomit. Like there's no, like, even if I wanted to eat, my body would have just, like, I would have thrown it back up kind of thing. Right. Like, and when my dosage got that high, and I was like, well, why did we bring dosage? And they're like, because if I didn't, then I was starving. Right. So it was either I didn't want to eat anything and I couldn't eat anything, or I was starving and I gained all the weight back. And that's the situation that a lot of, I shouldn't say just women, because men too, but a lot of
Yeah.
people are fighting themselves in, is it's just like this, bird in hand kind of thing. It's like, well, which one? It's like stuck between a rock and a hard place. Which one sucks more kind of thing, or sucks less, I guess I should say. So just be careful when you're utilizing these, you guys, and you have a plan and you have a strategy, because again, they can be so very, very powerful. But what happens for those who haven't worked through their relationship with food and don't understand how to fuel their body correctly, that's when they end up in those situations.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. I think do you have anything else to add? I know we've kind of bounced back and forth, but I mean, I guess for you to take away from this podcast, go lift heavy shit, you guys, multiple times a week, and then put that heavy shit back down.
Yeah.
Combine that with a proper nutrition protocol, eat enough protein, and I promise you everything about life will get better for you. Everything will get better. That's my mic drop moment I'm going to end with.
Love it.
All right, guys. Well, as always, if you guys find value to the podcast, you enjoy the podcast, liking and sharing, tagging us on your social media means more than you know, but we will see you guys in the next episode. Ciao.
If this is helpful, give me a like, follow me, or subscribe for more.